Hey everyone, Marnie here again for another Sunday video. This is the third video in a series on abandonment wounding and how to heal from this type of trauma energetically. My insights on the process as I experienced a really big reactivation of an abandonment wound. Soul lessons come in threes, so it's the third time I've experienced this with a partner, and this time, as usually it is with healing energetically, the third time is our final soul test, the one where we can become conscious of the situation and make new choices, heal subconscious patterning, and really succeed in moving forward into our future to become the best possible version of who we are and to live in alignment with our divine blueprint, which is our healed and whole expression of our identity in this particular incarnation, without any trauma responses holding us back and allowing us to play, or creating dynamics where we play small and act out of alignment with what we truly want to be doing, be acting like. And usually trauma responses come up, kind of out of the blue. It's not like we plan to put ourselves in these situations. However, it is energetically inevitable that we'll find ourselves back in incomplete experiences, recreating themselves so that we can learn the lessons and heal. So in this video, I made a little list of, well, it's not little, I think there's about 6 or 7 points that I want to go through, so just not to miss anything, because a lot of insight came through this last week. So the first part is the science, and I kind of repeat this over and over, but maybe this is the first time you're watching one of my videos. Inside of our energy field, the lower 3 chakras are corresponding to our subconscious, the way we were programmed, or the way we adapted reality as children. I like to use the word programmed, but we're not really computers, we're living organic beings, so maybe I'll work on shifting the vocabulary there. Anyway, it's not the time for that at this moment, but okay, so our lower 3 chakras are really creating how we act without thinking. Below our conscious mind in the moment, it's the way we respond to life. And the first layer of the field is corresponding to our root chakra. It's aligning with our nervous system and the meridian lines inside of our bodies. And with that one, I find there is so I'm telling you this so that as you're healing your trauma response around abandonment, you can start to, in meditation, pull apart the response by looking at 3 different layers of its expression. So the first one is the felt sense in the body. So when you are inside of your trigger, your abandonment wounding, where do you feel it in the body? For me, I feel it all through my heart and in my back, and I can feel a tension in my muscles. It's very visceral, and I know that when this type of feeling comes into my body, that I'm acting from my trauma response and not from my aligned soul self in the present moment. So that's the first layer. The second layer is our emotional responses that have to do with kind of us towards us, or us towards life. But it's not so much the relational piece. That's the 4th layer of the field, like how we relate to individuals on a daily basis, how we love. That's the 4th layer of the field. This is more like how we respond to dynamics. It could still be with people, but it's more of, okay, so my particular abandonment wound was triggered by, I was dating somebody and they couldn't see me in the amount of time that I felt they needed to see me. And I responded with extreme, with some anger, with a lot of fear, and with the feeling of being abandoned. maybe someone else who is not in a trauma response might be able to see the other person's point of view more clearly and not take it so personally. So this is where, how we respond emotionally from our sacral chakra, from our second layer of our field, these kind of internalized dynamics that are usually just running on autopilot. And then the third layer is our mental body, so the story that goes along with it. I'm not worthy, I'm abandoned, this person is stringing me along, they're not seeing me, feeling me, a big implosion into victimhood, and then all the stories that go along with it. So the vibration of the feeling is going to match the mental story that we put into the situation. So as we start to look at those three layers separately and really just be with what is, you're starting to pull apart the trauma response. So that's the science. Okay, and also this idea that traumas are incomplete experiences wanting to resolve themselves. So as you work on your soul growth, what inevitably is going to happen is these parts of us that are still unconscious and need resolution are stuck in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which means that they're in the sympathetic nervous system and are not fully in our emotional embrace. So when something is in the sympathetic nervous system, it's almost like it's not yet being hugged by our spirit, by our consciousness, by our ability to stay present through situations. And as we wake up to our soul nature, these parts of us are looking to go towards healing. So, I used to say all the time, when we have a cut on our body, it heals itself naturally. Well, same goes with psychological imbalances, emotional imbalances, and soul karmic imbalances, all these types of things. They all want to be brought into the present moment, to be seen and witnessed and loved with compassionate understanding so that they can rebalance and come into alignment with our the integrity of our vibration, of our soul's frequency in this lifetime, incarnated into a physical being. So that is kind of the idea of what are the coherence of our identity when we are in alignment with our central channel. So what we feel like when we're present, when we're inside of our personality in a way that is flexible and attentive and responsive to the moment, rather than reactive and maybe lost in past stories that are causing the present moment to recreate the past traumas. So if you're thinking of it like that, if you're someone out there that's like, oh, why do I always come back to this moment, or why does it always lead here, or what am I doing, oh, I tried to avoid this dynamic and here it is, and it's causing me to get knocked over, and I feel emotionally depleted and in a victim mode, or whatever it is that you're feeling. Know that these are opportunities to heal and to really grow and expand into who you truly are. So take it as a gift. And I said it already, but I'll say it one more time. These types of lessons, when we're hitting on them from the soul level, they come in threes. So the first time it's the experience is unconscious and ends in a painful way. The second time it's conscious, but we don't yet have power to put our presence into the moment. So we're watching it happen, a bit like a movie, okay, next thing's happening. Oh, and the same outcome is created once again, but this time in a state of you being able to witness the experience as it's unfolding. And the third time it happens is when you have the opportunity, with your present moment coherence, with the knowledge that you've learned, with your ability to slow down into the moment, even though it might be difficult, to make new choices, to create new solutions, to really step into your power and heal as an adult some of those childhood traumas, some of those childhood woundings that are calling your attention. So next thing, I want to talk about, actually I didn't write this one down, but just the idea that all of these like deep core heart wounds are almost always related to our inner child and our wounded inner child. So doing the meditation that I have, that I posted last week for the divine inner child, I find like I'm listening to it over and the music's a little off. You know, it's the first time I made one of these, but the content itself is really good. The journey is, you know, really on point. And I apologize at the beginning, there's a bit of an eerie kind of musical frequency, but it balances out after the first couple minutes. So just giving you a little heads up on that. And next time I'll change it and do it a little bit nicer. So yeah, so that. And okay, and then I want to bring in the tree analogy. So when we're working with different experiences of heart wounds that were created when we were younger, that's why they hit us so hard, that's why they knock us off our center so easily. You can tell you're in one when it really brings you off your center, when it hits you and you get knocked off of your core identity. So the analogy of the tree is like, if you were in your integrity as an adult without having these spaces where people can, you know, really get into your core because there's a trauma there. You know, someone saying, I can't see you until, you know, next week it's going to hit the edge of the bark of the tree and you're going to go, ouch, I wanted to see you tomorrow. Okay, you know, I'm going to think about that and I'll see you next week. Or I don't know if this is working for me anymore. Maybe we should have a conversation. And really you're able to kind of not take it so personally and reflect and respond from a space of presence and in your adult nature. Versus when it's a childhood trauma or a wounding, an energetic wounding, that person's energy has the ability to really go in deep inside of you and really activate something that's going to put you into that fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response. And then you're going to react rather than respond. So that's how we know we're in a trauma response. And usually the nervous system will go into a state of a bit of anxiety. I mean, fight. What does it feel like to be in a fight response? In a flight response, we want to run away. A freeze response is a little bit harder to connect into that one because it comes with a bit of a sense of like being apathetic or detached from the dynamic, not knowing what you really want. Maybe there's a sense that you kind of dissociate or leave the body. So that one's a bit harder to connect into, but you know, I tend to go into freeze response. So so I've learned to kind of acknowledge when it's happening. And, you know, if you're watching this, most likely you're a sensitive individual on the soul journey who uses energy healing modalities to support your evolution. And in that, most likely your high sense perception is activated. So you'll be able to get insights like mental, you know, intuition or felt states, or just the idea that something is very true or untrue. So ask questions from your higher aspects to your soul self or your higher self or your guide, and pay attention to the answers, because that feedback loop is part of your toolkit now to be able to use your intuition in that way to help you navigate and grow. So fight, flight, freeze, and then fawn is one where us females go into quite easily, which is caretaking the other person, or what do you need, putting your own needs aside and really just stepping up and being present. Oh, fawning, you know, oh, you're so great. And can I make you dinner? Can I do your laundry? What do you need? Can I hold space for you? Whatever it is, you know? So that's also one of the trauma responses. Okay, so in the workshop, I brought up the workshop at the beginning because this is where a lot of my insights came from this week. And one of the main insights, and this gets a little deep, is that usually the trauma, those deep core wounds, are created when we're very young, based on a family dynamic, based on who's around us when we're, 1 to 7, I would say. And ultimately, deeper than that, the wound is created from us to us. So the projection goes out into the world so that we can make sense of it and have a feedback loop and understand what is going on. When we're really young, we don't have memories yet, so it's more just a felt sense that you can tap into. But for whatever reason, I was in one of the sessions, and I just had this deep kind of moment of clarity that it was me who abandoned myself. And it hit me pretty hard, and I was, really did bring some sense of resolution that when I was 8 months old, my frequency as a soul was not able to stay present in the community vibration of my family or the collective frequency of my family. My frequency was too high, too foreign, not yet understood by my parents, or maybe by the biofield of as children, we need to connect into our parents to stay alive. So I guess what happened is that the vibration of my body, of my vessel, connected into the physical reality and became the frequency of my parents and my family dynamic, which has a lot of unconsciousness in it that is shifting since I was born, of course. And my soul frequency had to leave. And that feeling of being separated from myself was where the pain originated. And if any of you are out there really connected to your soul and have gone through these core woundings, experiences, separating from source, separating from oneness, separating from God, consciously separating, no longer having awareness of our connection to the divine, is extremely painful to our physical bodies, to our life here on earth. And when we reconnect, there is pain in there. There's pain in the pathway of reconnection. So we have to go into it, and it can be extremely painful. So that was my insight, that, it's really helpful to see the narratives related to our parents and how we experienced our early years for deeper understanding and meaning making. And even deeper than that, the pain, the trauma is from us to us. Somehow, if you can get there at some point, I would love to hear about it. Maybe you want to put a comment below. So, and the other piece of really interesting insight is I have lived most of my life as a single woman. Of course, I've dated. I've had 3 loves, 3 falling in love moments. And this was my 3rd one. And I realized that at 8 months of the relationship, I will blow it up. I will recreate the trauma, the abandonment wound, and abandon the relationship, abandon myself, and recreate the pain. So, I'm taking ownership on that, and who knows what the future has in store for this last dating dynamic that I've been in. But I've gone through such a journey with it that I feel very present and not like I don't care, but just not attached to the outcome. So it's really going to allow me to stay present through the experience that I will have this week with a conversation with this particular individual. now being able to not be perpetuating the wound. So I'm excited to see where that goes. Maybe there'll be a video on that as well. Who knows? Let's see how life unfolds. And then, okay, so then I wanted to talk about, like, when we're in these woundings, when we're in these traumas, how do we come out of them? How do we move through it? You know, it's really, once you're in it, you're in it. And the best tools that I have for now, for this particular experience, is one, contemplate on the feelings. Talk to a friend. Talk to your girlfriends. Talk to whoever it is that you know is a safe place. Write in a journal. Reflect on the feedback you get. Always attempt to go deeper. Breathe deeper. Meditate. Take time for yourself. If you are in that negative spiral, you know, for me, I went right into victimhood, and I could see how it was affecting my life in the present moment, not just in the relationship, but in my work scenarios, in my family dynamics, in my overall sense of well-being. And I listened to the insight. I chose to take the Tantra workshop, which also went through relational trauma in it, which was amazing and super helpful. And that's where a really good technique is to try new things. Put yourself into new experiences where maybe people don't know you very well. This is, of course, if you're, you know, you want to have enough inner coherence to be able to, you know, put yourself out there and move through maybe any fear that comes up with stepping into new experiences. For me, I love new experiences. I have trouble completing things, so the beginning of things is always very easy for me, and that brings me to actually one of my last points. So putting yourself in new experiences where you're able to, so, you know, usually these heart wounds are connected to individuals, beloveds, and we want to attach to those people, and our energy moves out of ourselves, and it's really hard to bring it back into our center. So one really good technique I found is to put yourself in environments where people don't know you, where you can really, you know, move back into your center, where you have to talk and communicate and be seen and be held. You know, for me, this workshop was the perfect opportunity because we did a lot of breath work where we're breathing into our central channel, and it really brought me back to myself and also gave me all these beautiful insights. So, you know, if you're really stuck in a rut, mix up your habit patterns, mix up the status quo, put something new in there that's going to at least bring in a fresh energy to help you maybe latch on to something and switch it up and start moving. So another tool is to be really authentic and earnest with your desire to heal vibrationally. Really call in support. I want to know the answer even if it's hard. I want to move forward. I want to do the work, you know. Really dropping into knowing things might change, and yes, there's a letting go process in that, is going to help you move forward. And your spirit guides and God and your soul and your higher self all want to bring you forward, move you forward. And there is a law on earth that your physical nature, your identity as a human being has the final say. So if you are moving in the service to others, heart-centered pathway, your guides and your supports and your higher self can only help you if you consent to it. So this is like honoring boundaries. So that's how powerful you are as a physical being. You have to allow the support, and vibrationally we allow it by really dropping into wanting to receive it, wanting to receive the solutions. So yeah, practice that. Practice what it's like to just think, oh, okay, maybe I want the change just in the mind, versus putting it into the heart. I really want the solution. I will do the work, you know, putting yourself into the path of the warrior, the healing warrior. Another tool is to know that the trauma responses on a physical level sometimes need to be re-experienced. You know, for me, there was a lot of this week, a lot of holding myself, a lot of you are with yourself, you're here, you know, creating the solution on a physical level. And usually when trauma is coming out of the nervous system on a physical level, we need to recreate it, like re-experience it, and go very slowly. So if it's a fight response, you know, really slowly pushing your boundaries back out. If it's a flight response, maybe you want to run in place really slow, and this is going to bring the experience back into the present moment. So that's one technique. And what else did I want to say? Darn. There was one thing I didn't write down that I was remembering I wanted to talk about. Okay. So the last piece before I go, we have a afternoon date with some of my girlfriends, is take a look in your life, in your present moment experience, and see. So there's going to be an inner world expression, which is all this like felt sense stuff, the reflection, the contemplation. And then because it's in your nervous system, in your programming, in your subconscious, we are actually creating that dynamic onto others, onto ourselves and others in an outward way. So I had a lot of insight about noticing that I was abandoning myself and abandoning others. I was becoming the perpetrator, where internally I felt like the victim. On the outside, there was little tendrils, you know, it's not immediately in my environment, but little tendrils of how I abandon others, how I abandon myself, and all in alignment with the trauma response of getting so stuck in the feeling of abandonment and fear that completing things just never felt accessible, the endings of something, the completion, because I would get stuck in that kind of smallness or murkiness, or maybe even something just below the subconscious, because below, you know, below my awareness, that is protecting me from reactivating the trauma response. So if the feeling of abandonment is so painful and completing something has, you know, an aspect of that I would have to touch into that trauma, you know, just kind of playing on the edges and sort of becoming aloof or forgetting or getting focused on other things is a protective mechanism. Okay, there's one last thing, I'm going a lot of places, is for me in this particular relationship, I noticed that at about 8 months, there was some kind of wall that would dissipate from my heart, and then I would become a pile of mush, like so in love, and also polarizing from like extreme love to extreme fear and distrust, like a really big, you know, this activation of the trauma, like blowing it up, and just this pendulum is swinging now. So I thought it was interesting just to acknowledge how when we feel our heart isn't invested yet, that maybe there's a wall there protecting us from something that's underneath. So I don't know if that will, you know, resonate with anyone out there, but when do you notice that you become in love or really in your heart, or feel like the vulnerability starts to come in versus a bit more of a guarded experience that's maybe more ego-based, or there's an idea of love, but it's more in the mental body and it's not yet hit into the emotions. So I had that experience too. And now I have to say, I'm still waiting for the full completion moment. I don't know what's going to happen, but you can stay tuned for it. And feeling pretty good, pretty aligned. I'm grateful for it all, even though it was difficult. And now I'm going to go to the beach. So I'll see you all next week. Enjoy your week, and sending you love from over here at Earth Heart Healing.